Now, the British Army is facing growing calls to bring in outside bodies to oversee its internal and closed disciplinary procedures. It follows a number of cases where families of former soldiers, including one featured by Channel 4 News, say they face a wall of silence in trying to follow up Army internal investigations, and further claims from serving soldiers who've claimed they didn't get fair treatment at Army hearings. James Blake reports.
There are two very different systems of justice in Britain, marching parallel to each other, one for civilians, one for the armed forces. Service personnel live in a world of summary hearings and court-martials, but now there's mounting political pressure for that to change. Corporal Anne-Marie Element was an officer in the Royal Military Police. Last summer she accused two colleagues of rape, and when the RMP investigated its own officers, it decided to bring no charges. 30-year-old Corporal Element told her family she then endured bullying and harassment. She was found hanged in her barracks in October. It's now 7 months since lawyers asked the MOD to re-investigate those rape claims.
We've had a meeting with the Service Prosecuting Authority, which is the organisation that's responsible for making decisions about whether or not you should charge somebody. And following that meeting, we've actually got more questions than we had before. So we've written again to the Ministry of Defence, urging them to really now consider our request very hard, and we're waiting for their response.
In November last year, this programme obtained a secret letter sent between two senior generals about an army survey which questioned 400 women.
Sexual harassment. Every female officer or other rank that my command sergeant major has spoken to claims to have been the subject of unwanted sexual attention.
It's an astonishing statement, and one 6 years after the review into 4 deaths at Deep Cut Barracks following allegations of bullying. Back then, Vera Baird tried to change the law to involve civilians in military justice, but the top brass said it would get in the way of lines of command.
What you need to have is an independent system so that somebody can go confidentially and with confidence that their career won't be wrecked for the very reason that they've made the complaint, to get some help if they're in that dilemma. Otherwise, you would think there'll be more tragedies like Deep Cut.
Captain Greg MacLeod experienced a type of military justice when he was removed from his post in 2011. He wasn't told about the accusations against him and still hasn't seen any evidence. Yet the Army career he'd hoped for is over. The MOD says the Service Complaints Commissioner already provides vital independent oversight, and any concerns that she has can be raised directly with the chain of command. But then when the Commissioner herself asked for the powers of an ombudsman, well, that was declined. The armed forces operate in a unique environment, says the MOD, and so they need a unique justice system.
Well, we did ask for an interview with someone from the Ministry of Defence or a senior army officer, but no one was available. I'm joined now by the Labour MP Madeleine Moon, who sits on the Defence Select Committee. In your view, do serving servicemen and women have a fair system?
You made a quote there from Major General Lorimer about how women were experiencing justice within the armed forces. His report goes on to say that throughout the armed forces, throughout the 6,000 people that they interviewed, there was generally a feeling that there was no point of making a complaint because the chain of command would not give them justice. We've also spoken to the Service Complaints Commissioner, and Dr. Atkins herself has said that the current situation is neither efficient, effective or fair. She has no way of influencing the chain of command. She has no way of following through on complaints. It's why we need an ombudsman, and it's why the currently enclosed and secret system of the courts within the chain of command by commanding officers, summary hearings, are just not acceptable in current justice systems.
Well, we'll get to the ombudsman in a moment, but I mean, what you're describing is an absolute disaster because it's been going on for years. I mean, the injustices that must follow from that must be enormous.
They are, and it's totally unacceptable. The people who serve in our armed forces have no belief in the justice system that the Ministry of Defence is inflicting upon them. It is time for a change. When the Blake report came out after Deep Cut, it was then said that what we needed was an ombudsman. The chain of command said no. We need to have authority. We need a system where we are the ultimate arbiters of justice.
Well, what
That
power would
clearly
you
isn't
give
working.
that ombudsman?
Well, the Ombudsman must have the powers to follow through on complaints. The Ombudsman must have the powers to investigate. And the Ombudsman must have the powers to follow through where justice has not been seen to be done.
Why do you think it's been rejected so far?
Well, turkeys don't vote for Christmas, do they? And currently, it suits the chain of command to have those powers. They want to keep those powers because it's a cosy system that serves them. The reality is, if you suffer abuse by someone in the chain of command, you have to make your complaint to that person who's abused you. It's not acceptable. It's not justice.
Well, do
And
you
it's certainly...
Sorry,
I'm
go on,
sorry?
finish. Just finish
Well,
your
it's
point.
certainly... It really isn't acceptable that someone doesn't feel a confidence in the justice system. We're about to ask civilians to increasingly go and serve as reservists, as we use reservists in our military. Civilians are not going to accept this closed, cosy, kangaroo court system that we currently have. It has to change.
Just finally, I mean, is your committee likely to call for this change? And how likely do you think it is that you'll get it, given everything you've just said?
I can't say what my committee is going to do. That report is to be published sometime in the future. I personally am going to be looking to see if I can have either a Westminster Hall debate or the Backbench Business Committee give me the time to debate this issue in the chamber.
Madeleine Moon, thank you very much.